Hi, I'm Katie. I'm talking very stiffly and I feel pretty emotionally unattached to you right now because I feel super sick. So I can kind of tell my emotional activation in this moment that I'm not incredibly as engaged as I would like to be. Just so you know.
The last time that I was on this stage was the last time I performed, and it was almost 2 years ago when I was headed off to college and full of energy and life and promise, and once I got there, I actually developed a chronic illness that seemed to take everything away from me. And I came home, and Miss Lee handed me this song, and it was one of those moments when art and real life collide.
I met Katie through a mentorship program. She told me she had listened to me speak on a podcast about my invisible illness.
I have chronic neurological Lyme disease.
Never really had to study. She could read really fast, and she remembered everything.
I got to experience my brain changing weekly, daily, shifting in its perception, in things that it could process, in things that it could articulate.
Today, she can't even read.
I went from writing for pleasure, writing complex personal essays, to staring at my phone, trying to respond to a text message from my best friend, and sobbing because I didn't understand why my brain could not put any words into text.
People are talking about mental health everywhere, but we're not talking about chronic illness. Author and vlogger John Green has the right idea.
I find it difficult to talk about my own experiences with chronic illness because the central way we imagine sickness as a thing that we must conquer and then put behind us doesn't really apply to chronic illness. Like when you go to the store to get a card for a sick friend, you go to the get well soon section, right? But for people living with chronic illness, it often isn't a question of getting well soon. Like, Hank, I hope someday they cure ulcerative colitis, but I don't expect you to get well soon. Instead, my hope for you is that you have a rich and full life and that you aren't marginalized because of your illness.
Once we start talking about chronic illness, we can extend the conversation to invisible illness.
I had never heard of an invisible illness before. You know, the only time you ever really hear the word invisible is when someone asks you what kind of superpower you would like.
According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, approximately 96% of people who live with an illness have an illness that is invisible.
A condition that is not outwardly seen.
People who don't know her think she's perfect, that there's nothing wrong with her.
So those with invisible illnesses, disabled not by our bodies but by society, work to have meaningful lives.
The beautiful thing about creativity is it's a way that people can express their true selves, and especially for people who have disabilities that might be misunderstood by other people. It gives them a way to give a different impression of who they are and what they're thinking. It gives them a voice when they might have difficulty speaking or difficulty explaining themselves, and increases their sense of control.
When she couldn't form words well, she sang numbers instead.
I think that art is an incredible means of transferring experiences and feelings into tangible parts of the world that expresses something within you that is not necessarily allotted to verbal expression. To make sure that I have things I can do when I don't feel normal and when I feel at my worst, and music is definitely the one thing that I can do no matter what.
So I curse my stars for a fair game. I nurse my scars in the old flame.
I had to change a lot of my diet when I got sick, so I eat primarily plant-based, and I bought a bunch of porcelain dinnerware, and I found out that you can draw with Sharpies on porcelain and then bake them. and they turn into plates. So I actually made a dinnerware collection of talking vegetables. Advocate for yourself and notice the things about you that are really, really special and great. And once you discover those things, your superpowers, what your unique situation gives you, both in perspective and in ability, and creating some sort of way to use those things to accomplish the things that you love. It's up to people like us, to those people, to find those strengths and find what enables them, find what makes them feel like they're not ill. And in the moments where they are at their complete worst, discovering things that they can do to make themselves feel worthy of being alive, that make them feel like they have some sort of purpose in the world.
Unbelievable that there is a world significantly larger and more complex, and it's all underneath there.
Inside the word invisibility, there's definitely ill, but there's also ability.